board clear, unpacking a fresh pack of pens, never willing to accept of fear. She's loved in many channels, every gate chained on nights and black blue lights. Heaven help them when she recites. Mysterious life, girl got skills. She moves in space with minimum waste and maximum joy. Makeshift desks and a cat that bites. When you see her coming, take your pills. No place for snowflakes or sensitive hearts. When sentiment is left to chance, she'll send you back to your start. We all know it, she's a smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Toast to toast, sometimes switches to crumpet, bends them to jail. Across social media, buy memberships for bail. Verse by verse, exploring the text. She reads and recites, not knowing the tongue, learning every step of the way. Melts all your memories and feeds you facts. Her zeal is like fire, but her heart is of gold. We all know it, she's a smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Toast to toast, sometimes switch to crumpet, bends them to jail. Across social media, buy memberships for bail. Smooth moderator. 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 Ooh, moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator.
Exploring consciousness. What does it mean? Looking up definitions, watching narratives fall apart at the seams. From the realm of the dead, stumbling through fractured reality. Truth is a needle in a haystack, wondering what happened to me. Exploring happiness. What does it mean? Looking up definitions, watching narratives fall apart at the seams. Was it all a bad dream? What on earth could have happened to me? Truth is a needle in a haystack. Discern fake from reality. Time lost, pitch black, dopamine hits, think thinking slow and fast. Watch a narrative fall apart at the seams. Waking up, waking up. Watch a narrative fall apart at the seams. Waking up, waking up. Waking up. Waking up. Waking
Hello, good evening, happy Thursday. Here we are in another episode of Exploration. Excuse me. Right, so again, I've chosen to go solo tonight. So, what I'm going to do is get straight into this, and thus I shall now announce that tonight's topic is vitamin D versus hormone D. What do we really know? So we're going back into that. This will be the fourth dive on that. And I've got at least 2 videos that I want to go through because I'm trying to get as many different views as possible, whether they're experts or not. And, in whichever capacity that they deem themselves as experts as well. So let me bring up the first video. This one is by a Dr. Berry, I think he's called. But let's have him introduce himself anyway in the video.
Black skin needs 3 to 6 times more sunlight to produce the same amount of vitamin D than lighter skin, right? Just so you can kind of get an idea of like, oh, I'm out in the sun a lot. I'm out in the sun a lot. Are you out 3 to 6 times more than your non-melanated, contingent? You're probably not. All right, so now this conversation is definitely one that is near and dear to me, especially as a healthcare provider. And I always say, like, not only am I a physician, but I'm a patient as well, too. So when I just recently got my yearly annual labs done, right, which, I get around my birthday every year. I've already talked about this, which I suggest you do, right? That's how you remember, hey, when should I get my checkup? Get it around your birthday. One of the labs they did the prior year was like my vitamin D level. And here I am. I'm in sunny South Florida. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, yeah, sure, go ahead, check my vitamin D. I don't got no issues, but like, yeah, I want to check it. And I was genuinely shocked that my vitamin D was low, right? Because all my other labs are great, but like my vitamin D was low. And I was like, oh, wow, vitamin D. And they were asking like, oh, well, do you go out in the sun a lot? Of course, I'm as a physician, I'm usually in hospitals, I'm usually in buildings, so I don't have a lot of direct exposure to the sun when I'm out, unless I'm going to and from my car to go to the next destination. But even during my leisure, because I had to think about this, even during my leisure time, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I really do kind of be avoiding the sun like that. So of course I go to do my little Googling, my perplexity and like all that good stuff. And come to find out, especially as Black American, right, a lot of us are vitamin D deficient, right? Like in fact, the numbers were approximately 80%. Black Americans are vitamin D deficient and have no symptoms no obvious symptoms whatsoever until they appear, right? So today I want to talk about the importance of making sure your vitamin D level is on point, especially as black American, black woman, black man, like, hey, like we got to be checking our vitamin D levels, right? It's one of those things where the symptoms can be kind of sneaky if we're not checking for it, or if we're just kind of ignoring it. And understand that, again, when I think about why it's so important, how it affects our body, and how do we run around with so many of us being deficient. Again, I had questions, and hopefully today you got answers, right? So again, today we're gonna kind of break down vitamin D deficiency in the Black community and what we can do about it. All right, so what's really happening in our community that a diagnosis like vitamin D deficiency is hitting 4 out of 5 of us, right? Like, what's really happening? And it's a combination, like most things. It's not just a black and white, one size fits all type answer. It's that combination that seems to get a lot of us in trouble. So first and foremost, our skin color. Like, you may be thinking, oh my God, what is my skin color done to me now? Yes, our skin color. What happens because of our skin color, because of the melanin in our skin color, we actually produce less vitamin D when we are exposed to the sunlight. So even those who may be exposed to the sunlight, because of our melanated skin, we don't produce the level of vitamin D that our non-melanated folks in this country produce when they're exposed to the same amount of sun, right? So that's first and foremost, right? Like, the normal way most people get, again, this is just like, natural, right? Because I know people are all about the natural. The natural way people typically get it out in the sun, out and about, we don't get it that way because our skin is a protective barrier against the sun and its rays, but unfortunately, it also causes us to produce a little bit less vitamin D from it, right? So that's one. And of course, lifestyle, diet, access adds up to this, where you get 80% of us being affected. But it is, again, an issue that I think is important to note, important to understand, important to talk about, especially as we continue to move forward along this path of getting better, right? And one of those things, right, again, and that's why I wanted to talk about vitamin D today, right? Because I think it is one of those things where obviously, we talk about make sure your blood pressure is on point, your cholesterol, and getting your eyes checked and your vaccine. Like, we talk about all these things here, but we don't want to let go of what may be considered small things, right? Because again, this is important. Again, remember, it's not me. Journal Clinical Endocrinology says 4 out of 5 of us adults are walking around vitamin D deficient. But what does that mean? Like, how do I feel if that occurs, especially in over a long period of time? You ever feel tired for really no obvious, clear reason? You ever deal with infections, especially recurrent infections, recurrent urine infections, skin infections, over and over and over again for no very obvious reasons? Fatigue. Like, maybe you're just always tired. You're just more like, you got a good night rest. It's not sleep apnea, and you're still tired when you wake up. You're still tired throughout the day doing your normal activity. And then, just the bony aches and pain, right? So there's a lot of different, and that may sound vague, but when we talk about vitamin D and how much it does in our body, it's not surprising that it affects a lot of different systems, which gives us a lot of vague a vague window of issues or concerns that could be concerning us. So understand, yes, you can be even one of those sun warriors, right, and still get vitamin D deficient, specifically just because of your skin. Like, that can be the thing. But, right, again, diet, you're not eating enough, you're not taking it enough, right? Lifestyle changes, you're not sleeping enough. All of these things kind of play a factor in whether your body's going to produce the vitamin D it needs to be sufficient, so that when you do go get your annual checkup and they check that vitamin D level, they don't hit you with the, hey, I want to talk to you. Like, your vitamin D is a little bit low, and you're not shocked or surprised by it. So before I get into some, insights and some solutions associated with vitamin D deficiency, let's go into the missteps that kind of get us in trouble and get us not even thinking about, hey, I might have a vitamin D problem. One being, this is a good myth, right? And I just kind of mentioned this, being outside guarantees enough vitamin D. We already know that is not the case. We already know there's certain parts of the country that get less sun, more sun. And the fact that even if you get more sun, like I'm in Florida, if you're Black, you're not going to produce as much strictly off the skin. Not even talking about dietary habits, just strictly off the way our melanin is produced. We are going to produce less vitamin D in the system in general. Ignoring the symptoms, whether you're tired, you're fatigued, you got general body aches and pain, and not thinking that vitamin D may be a concern. A lot of us, I can tell you what happens. A lot of us start thinking about vitamin D when we start getting very, very old, because we know that that's associated with fractures, right? So they'll check your vitamin D level, they check your calcium level, they'll start thinking about osteoporosis. That's when we start thinking about vitamin D. But imagine if we could have thought about vitamin D 10, 15, 20 years down the line, that routine fall that you had maybe wouldn't have resulted in a fracture for grandma or granddad when that came around, right? So again, just to think about where this show, right, is all about the prevention, right? So we're doing things now that may not be as sexy now, but it will pay immense dividends later on. So understand that. And then mega dosing supplements without guidance is okay. No, that is never okay. Again, more is not better, especially because vitamin D is actually a fat-soluble vitamin. Dr. Pierre maybe say, hey, what does that mean, fat-soluble vitamin? We have fat-soluble vitamins and supplements. We have water-soluble vitamins and supplements. And that just means, how does our body break down this, substance, right? Whether it's broken down and absorbed and metabolized and excreted out, or like via urine, that's our water soluble vitamins, or your body actually has to break this thing down or store it somewhere, which is our fat soluble vitamins, right? So vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. So if right, you take so much vitamin D because you're trying to overshoot the thing, guess what? Yes, you can have vitamin D toxicity with GI issues and stuff like nausea, a lot of problems, right? So you do not want to take too much vitamin D. And I can tell you, I've had patients who they're on the supplements where you're supposed to take it once a week medication. And I gave him 4 pills, right? Because, for the month. And for some reason, he didn't think about it. And he took it for the first 4 days and was calling me like, hey, doc, like I don't have any more of that vitamin D. I was like, what do you mean? Like the month just started. He's like, oh yeah, I took it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I was gone. I said, no. You're supposed to take it every Monday or every Tuesday or no, you're supposed to take once a week. So now, thankfully, again, he was all right. Any aches and pains was very short-lived, but again, that can be an issue. Yes, you can have some problems if you take too much. So that is a myth. We want to make sure we get rid of and get that out of there, right? Because again, that is a big mistake that people make when they're thinking about like vitamin D and immune boosting and fall prevention and trying to reduce osteoporosis. That's always a problem at hand, that they think if I just take too much of it, I'm out of the woods. And that's usually not the case. All right, so let's talk about some strategies that we can look forward to, especially when we're thinking about vitamin D and our fight against vitamin D deficiency. Number one, get tested. You're not going to know if you're vitamin D deficient unless you know if you're vitamin D deficient. That may make sense, but I don't want y'all, because vitamin D is over the counter, just start taking vitamin D tomorrow. No. See if you need it first, right? Get checked. Follow up with some blood work. Vitamin D isn't like a routine lab that your doctors typically will order on your annual. So you may have to request that, hey, can you check my vitamin D level? I just saw Dr. Pierre talk about it. I'm Black. I know my skin protects me from the sun rays, but it also may protect me from, producing enough vitamin D. So I just want to check that level out. So make sure you're getting tested, because we don't want to check for it. Sun smart exposure. This is a good one. I didn't know, right? Black skin needs 3 to 6 times more sunlight to make the same vitamin D as lighter skin. Let me repeat that. Black skin needs 3 to 6 times more sunlight to produce the same amount of vitamin D than lighter skin, right?
Just pausing it there, because as far as I'm aware thus far, a white person, that means someone with the least amount of melanin in their skin, needs 20 minutes of exposure to UV rays per day during the lighter months, because we can store up vitamin D in our cells, right? So we can go without that through the winter, right? But the point here is, if we need 20 minutes, then someone with more melanin in their skin, who he says needs 3 to 4 times as much, they need, 20, 40, 60, 80 to 100 minutes. So that's an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 40 minutes. compared to 20 minutes per day. And I'm not sure if people with that amount of melanin in their skin can store it through the winter like what we can, because of where that amount of melanin in the skin is designed to be, like the southern hemisphere, right? Anyway, that's just my thoughts on it so far. So we'll go back to the video. I'm just like thinking aloud a bit.
So you can kind of get an idea of like, oh, I'm out in the sun a lot. I'm out in the sun a lot. Are you out 3 to 6 times more than your non-melanated contingent? You're probably not. Eat vitamin D rich foods, right? This obviously makes sense. Salmon, mackerel, milk, egg, mushrooms. Again, diet alone isn't going to solve it, but it will help, right? It is a good part of it, right? So make sure you're eating foods that are good and vitamin D.
Oh, and while he's talking about food, if you go back through the other videos, the other explorations that I did of vitamin D versus hormone D, we did look at how much the body ingests through food compared to how much it absorbs how much it creates once it absorbs enough UV rays, right? And so we found that the maximum the body can ingest is 10% of what it actually needs, right? So it doesn't matter how much you consume, right? Your body will only take vitamin D from what you've consumed up to 10%. The rest, the 90% that it needs, the remaining 90%, it has to produce itself. So you have to have the UV rays, right? So even if you think you're consuming like your 100% daily requirement just by eating and not getting out in the sun, you're fooling yourself, because the 90% excess that you're ingesting will cause problems in your body. You still need UV rays, right? Only 10% of the vitamin D in your body is in there from what it consumes. So, like from what you ingest. So if you ingest more than that, then yeah, you're going to cause problems in your body. But I think the next video touches on that a little bit, but I do want to look into that, what like the problems that are caused by ingesting more than you should. I think we know the harms of like being in the sun too long, but I want to look at the harms of ingesting too much vitamin D sources.
Supplementation, very important, and obviously the supplements when you can. And then more importantly, supplement safety. This is where, getting a healthcare provider, a nutritionist, someone to kind of make sure that they've got you on the right track. Again, most adults need about 800 to about 2,000 IUs a day. Those are the units that vitamin D comes in, just like your ibuprofen comes in milligrams, vitamin D comes in IUs. Most adults need about 800 to 2,000 IUs daily. Talk to your doctor. I can't tell you which one would be good for you, but talk to your doctor to make sure they get you right from that standpoint there, because I think it's extremely, extremely important. And again, remember, if any of these tips help you, hit that like button, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, and all that good stuff, because we like to support what we got going on here for you, right? So common myths, again, we talked about, I never get sick, so I'm fine. False, doesn't matter. You can have vitamin D issues. You can have these issues that reappear. And bone loss is like a chronic thing that you typically don't get back, right? So we want to be ahead of the bone loss instead of trying to play catch up to the bone loss, because a lot of times you can't catch up to it. More is better when it comes to vitamin D supplements. No. Again, take your daily recommended use. Don't overshoot it, because you can have problems from that standpoint. And I love this one. Supplements are just for kids or elders. Again, false. Anytime you start thinking like, oh, I'm like, it's only for like when I think about vaccines, people think, oh, it's only for the kids or the young the young kids or the old grandparents, and I'm in the middle, so I don't need it. False again. Yes, you can. Again, I take vitamin D supplements once a week, right? So it's extremely important to make sure you are doing that the same, right? That's the goal. Is we don't want to be a part of that 80% who's walking around vitamin D deficient, right? That's wild, right? 80%, right? It's kind of crazy number when you think about it. So before let's wrap up, let's get up out of here. Remember, understand that there are various reasons why the Black community seems to suffer from vitamin D deficiency. A lot of it is just that, hey, we're not producing enough. And majority of it is just we're not producing enough because our skin protects us from doing so. Like nothing you can really do about that. Our skin protects us from doing so. And to even try to balance it, you'd have to stand out there 3 to 6 times more than your lighter counterpart. No, we're not going to do that. Or at least I don't recommend it. Understand that, yes, there are simple ways to get it. There's foods, there's supplements. Just make sure that the first thing you do is make sure you fall in that 80%, right? I don't want you to just go out and get a supplement because you can reach over the counter at your local pharmacy. Make sure you actually need it before you actually start taking it, especially if you're older, because we don't want all these, because I got some older patients, they used to, like, they'd have their prescribed medications, and then they'd have a slew of medication that they took like almost like ad nauseum, right? Like their supplement bag was almost as many medications as it was for the non-supplement bag, right? So again, we want to help you avoid that, as we continue to move forward and, continue to help educate our community on getting better, doing better, feeling better in that regard, right? So again, if you got anything today, right, if you've been dealing with any vitamin D issues, you take vitamin supplements, there's some vitamin supplements you may recommend. I have a link of vitamin D, just supplements in general, in I think on my webpage. I'll put a link in the show notes for my supplements, so you get you some good vitamin D supplements with my Amazon link, and make sure you subscribe to the show. Again, I'm going to see you guys next week. I'm yours truly, Dr. Barry Pierre, host of Medicine Mondays.
So that was that. Very interesting what he's saying there. And he's a doctor who, all right, not all doctors can, I don't think any doctor is accurate actually, but yeah, definitely worth looking into a bit further what he was saying. So let me have a look. I've got another video. The videos that we're watching, by the way, I will be putting in, well, I have already put them in the description, sorry. I'll put them in the sources playlist as well, so you can find them there, no problem. Let me see, 2 minutes to 9. Before we stop, because that next video, let me see how long it is, 17 minutes. I think we'll have some music, and then maybe by 9:10 at the latest, we'll come and watch that video.
Exploring consciousness. What does it mean? Looking up definitions, watching narratives fall apart at the seams. From the realm of the dead, stumbling through fractured reality. Truth is Dopamine hits, thinking slow and fast. Watching narratives fall apart at the seams. Waking up, waking up. Watching narratives fall apart at the seams. Waking up, waking up.
Town is now a city, it's a city on a town. It's concrete over beauty, how that came to be. Lights go out, but it's wide awake. I can feel it breathing. The city with a purpose, anticipating until I sleep. It can feel me breathing. It knows I'm listening. The city with a purpose, sparks of beauty occur. There's a hustle and a bustle. It's been hustling and a bustling a while, a long, long while. Lights go out, but it's wide awake. I don't feel entertained. The city with a purpose, no intention to cure me. I don't like the circus, never been, never will. The city with a purpose. The city with a purpose. There's a hustle and a bustle. It's been hustling and a bustling a while, a long, long while. I don't like the circus, never been, never will. The city with a purpose. The city with a purpose. The city with a purpose.
I could manage what I'd allowed. I'd bitten off more than I could chew. Until I asked for help, I kept falling. Thought I was going round in circles. It was a downward spiral, relentless eyes. I'd bitten off more than I could chew. Overwhelming fear and dread, though I must face them to conquer them. I asked for help and that felt like hell. Didn't realize how much pain I was disarming. How many demons and ill will I was carrying. I'd bitten off more than I could chew. Overwhelming fear and dread, though I must face them to conquer them. To conquer them. Overwhelming fear and dread, though I must face them to conquer them. Learning my downfalls is difficult. All of them had become my normal. I'm afraid of them and relieved to have found them. As though I've bitten off more than I could chew. Overwhelming fear and dread, though I must face them to conquer them. Back from the dead, back from the dead. Oh, to make sure I can come back from the dead, back from the dead. Back from the dead, back from the dead, back from the dead.
And here we are, back from a break. Right. So this is the second video, and this is a regular Joe Blogs kind of person, not a doctor or anything like that, just giving his testimony. I've got the link to this video and his channel in the description as well. So without further ado, let's watch it.
What's up, guys? My issue coming back at you with another video, man.
And this is as loud as it
Today's
gets.
video, man, I simply want to talk about vitamin D deficiency and my story with vitamin D deficiency, man. I know it's a lot of people out there going through similar health issues as well, so I just wanted to just give my story on what happened with me and my journey or whatever. So make sure you like, share, subscribe to the content. I know some of the people that already subscribe to me are used to me making, football content or whatever, but this channel is now going to reposition itself to talk about things that move me. So if you want to unsubscribe, I definitely understand. But yeah, man, my journey with vitamin D deficiency, man, it was a long journey, man. So if you know me, you know I'm a guy who like to work out. saying? I've been working out since I could work out. You know what I'm saying? I've been working out since high school, middle school, whatever. I've been outside, outdoors type of guy. I'm outside right now. Um, so yeah, I was one day I was in the gym and I was just working out, doing my sprints on the treadmill, and I noticed that I started getting like almost like slight lightheaded, but not completely lightheaded. I got lightheaded to the point where I could manage it, not like I'm about to pass out. You know what I'm saying? I just felt like I wasn't getting enough oxygen to the brain, and I just kept pushing through it each day. But each day it got harder and harder and harder. So when it got to the point where I'm like, yo, this ain't passing through. Like this looks like something that's here to stay. Like, what is going on with me? Why I can't breathe properly? Why I'm not getting enough oxygen to the brain? That's when I decided to make a doctor's appointment to figure out, like, yo, what's going on with me? So I make the doctor's appointment. Man, doctors just be freestyling, man. You go to them with a problem, make sure you're detailed about all of your symptoms, man, because they'll just throw something together and just send you up out of there with some antibiotics or antidepressant or something like that, man. So I go to my doctor. I'm just letting him know because at the time I only had like one symptom, and that was like shortness of breath. And he basically said like, "Oh, I think you may have a constricted artery." And he was like, "Do you smoke?" At the time, I was smoking hookah or whatnot, and I was like, "Yeah, I smoke hookah from time to time, but not like every day." So I take his word. I'm like, okay, maybe it is the hookah. So he was like, yeah, over time it's gonna, you might have a constricted artery. So that those hookahs, they're bad for you. And I knew it was bad, but I didn't think, I'm seeing people smoke hookah every day. I'm not thinking like, I have an issue. So um yeah, he told me, oh, I think you have a constricted artery. He doesn't prescribe me anything. He just basically sends me on my way, and I go back home. And I then started noticing some digestive symptoms coming on. I'm like, yo, like, what the hell is going on with me? Like, I can't, barely could breathe. Now I'm having digestive symptoms. And then that's when I started getting like muscle weakness to the point where I just couldn't work out no more because as soon as I work out, my heart rate is like through the roof off the, the slightest exercise. I couldn't breathe as if I was just like in a high altitude area. It was just it almost felt like on an airplane, like when you're on the airplane and you could breathe, but you can't really just get a good, you know what I'm saying? It just felt like I had like a lot of pressure in my body, and it was just weird. So then I started developing GERD like symptoms, and with the GERD, it brought on anxiety with the GERD. You know what I'm saying? Because GERD, you can have a lot of symptoms that feel like your heart. So I started having like acid reflux, burning in my stomach. Uh, I started having like palpitations. I started having like the shortness of breath got worse to the point where I'm just like, if I got a bed too fast, I'm damn near about to faint. It got bad, man. So it got to the point where the panic attacks got so bad that I was going to the emergency room almost every day because I'm the type of person where shit, if I feel like something is coming on, I'm gonna be proactive and go and attack it before it attacks me. So, I'm going to the emergency room, and they like, hey, what brings you in today? And I'm like, um, I can't breathe. Like I can't breathe. I feel burning in my esophagus, my stomach, and I just can't breathe. So they do the basics. They do the, check your blood pressure. They do the EKG. They do the lung. They do the chest X-ray, whatever. They did a CT scan as well, and they couldn't find anything. They're like, "Oh, you're good. I mean, everything looks good. You're healthy. Blah 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 blah." If you've been through this, you know what it is, man. So they send me on my way with some proton pump inhibitors. So if you ever been on proton pump inhibitors, I advise you to get off, because if you have a vitamin deficiency, it's only going to make it worse, because it's going to block your body's ability to absorb nutrients, therefore making you even more deficient. And these people know this. These people job is to get you to keep coming back, because that's how they make money. So I'm on a proton pump inhibitors, and I don't take pharmaceuticals, but I was so desperate that I'm like, maybe this will help me. So I'm taking the proton pump inhibitors, and I just, with pharmaceuticals, you're gonna have some side effects. It's just, that's just what comes with it. So I'm taking the proton pump inhibitors, and I'm just feeling like the anxiety is getting worse and worse and worse, and I'm just like feeling weird and having all these different body sensations. I'm like, man, I'm going crazy right now. Like, I need some relief. It was getting crazy. So the proton pump inhibitors made everything worse, man. So I go back to my doctor, and he sends me to a thyroid specialist. He said, "Oh, I think you may have an overactive thyroid." So he sends me to a thyroid specialist, and then on top of that, he sends me to a cardiologist, and then on top of that, he sends me to a chiropractor. So my tab is just running up at this point. My tab is just going crazy. Like, I got the works, basically. When you go to the car wash and you ask for the works, that's basically what I was getting, the works. It was giving me the works. So my tab is just running up, from ER visits to all these different specialists I'm going to. And it was just like, now that I think about it, I'm like, bro, didn't even check my vitamin levels. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are they teaching these doctors in school? Or is it just something that they're just blatantly missing to keep you coming back to run up your tabs? That's what I'm thinking. So I go to the cardiologist. They give me like this heart monitor to take home with me. You know, I take the heart monitor home with me, and everything is good with it. You know what I'm saying? Everything is good. I'm not having any issues or whatnot. So brought the heart monitor back. They also he sent me to a thyroid specialist. I had like a slight, no, I had an underreactive thyroid, because vitamin D is a hormone. Since I didn't have any vitamin D or sufficient vitamin D, my thyroid was like basically operating operating in a position to where it wasn't working properly, which was also causing symptoms. And then the chiropractor, surprisingly enough, out of all the doctors I went to, I felt a little better when I left the chiropractor. I don't know. Maybe it was just something in my head. I don't know. But I felt a little bit better when I left the chiropractor. Maybe because he was like he had good people skills. I don't know. I just felt a little bit better when I left the chiropractor. So then I go back home, and the journey continues. So I'm going back home, and I'm just still having problems, still having symptoms. So I turn to Google. So I just type in every single one of my symptoms, like muscle weakness, shortness of breath, stomach issues. And, of course, Google's going to bring up the worst. So then I'm just like, I just felt like, I don't know, I just stumbled upon this article that said vitamin D deficiency. 'Cause I'm like, damn, you see cancer, you see the worst shit, and you just like, man, I know I hope I don't got that. So you keep scrolling until you see something that's like, maybe it's this, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I saw the article that said vitamin D deficiency. So when I saw the article that said vitamin D deficiency, I said to myself, like, damn, what? I go click on the causes. The causes says, you know, melanated people, we don't get as much vitamin D as, Caucasians or not, because we have melanated skin, which blocks the sun, the absorption from the sun. So we have to be damn near outside for 2 or 3 hours, ass naked, to get the vitamin D that we need, opposed to a white person. Or you can get it from, dairy products and things like that. But I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't really eat dairy like that. So and then on top of that, I work from home and I work inside, so I don't get in the sun as much as I used to. So that made sense. So I was like, something about it just resonated with me where I was just like, this is it. So I call the doctor's office and I say, hey, I want to get checked I want all my vitamins checked. You know what I'm saying? This was not my doctor's requesting this. This was me requesting this. And I said, I want all of my vitamins checked. So they say, sure. You know what I'm saying? So I go up there and they do all my vitamins, and my vitamin D levels was at an 11. Optimal level is between 30 and above, but it depends on who you go to because some people still say you're deficient at a 30. But mine was at 11, which universally that's deficient. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, that's it. So I go. He calls me and say, "Oh, yeah, man, you have a severe vitamin D deficiency." And I'm just like, wow. You know what I'm saying? So I go up there. He writes me a prescription. And here's another thing. He writes me a prescription for vitamin D2, which is a synthetic form of vitamin D that will be harder for my body to absorb and will also cause side effects. So I'm just like, bro, what? I'm just like, bro, this pharmaceutical industry is crazy to me, bro. It's almost like you guys go to school for all these years, but you still are just doing wrong by people. And that's why I don't trust doctors. That's why, if I do go to the doctor, it's just to get it's just to get my blood work checked, obviously STDs and shit like that. But outside of that, bro, like anything they prescribe me, I could tell you a herb to take it. You know what I'm saying? When they gave me the proton pump inhibitors, it was making me feel worse. So then I went, typed in, I became a Google specialist. I typed in herbs for gastritis and herbs for GERD or whatnot. Started taking slippery elm, zinc carnosine, DGL licorice, and didn't have any other problems with gastritis or GERD or anything like that. So boom, he gives me the vitamin D2. I get home, I throw it away. I go to Vitamin Shop, I go pick me up the highest dose of vitamin D they have because he prescribed me like 50,000 IUs of vitamin D2. So I get the vitamin D3 and I started taking it. When I tell you, it was almost like my body just said thank you. It was like my body just said thank you. I immediately felt better. Like I immediately started feeling like better. Like I wasn't at 100%, but I felt like my body was saying, yes, you did it. We're on the right. You. It's almost like a car when you put gas in it, like it started running better and things like that, or changing the oil or whatnot. That's how my body felt. My body was almost just telling me like, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I took the vitamin D3 and make sure you're taking it with vitamin K2 because K2 is gonna, tell the vitamin D where to go. So your vitamin D, when it gets in your body, it's going to put a lot of calcium in your body. You don't want the calcium to go into your arteries and places that it's not supposed to go. So the vitamin K2 is going to tell, it's going to basically direct the calcium where to go. So into your bones and places where it needs to go. So make sure you're taking make sure you take K2 every time you take your vitamin D. And then also make sure you take magnesium because magnesium will get depleted if you're taking high doses of vitamin D3. So yeah, man, I tell anybody, man, I tell anybody that you're gonna be the only person in charge of your health, man. Your doctor's not gonna care about your health as much as you care about your health. You are in control of your own health, man. So if you got to research and second guess and get a second opinion, do what you got to do, man, because I could have been cured on the first doctor visit if he would have checked my vitamin D levels that day. You know what I'm saying? But he decided not to check my vitamin D levels until damn near 6 or 7 ER visits later. And I went to him with it. You know what I'm saying? He didn't suggest that. He didn't do his due diligence. I was just another patient to him. So, and I even went to an African American doctor just to, just because I felt like maybe he would relate to me more, maybe he would look out. I don't know, but it's not true, man. They all the same. I ain't gonna say they all the same, but they're not gonna care about your health the same way you care about your health. So make sure you do your due diligence, man. You can save yourself a lot of visits, and there's a lot of people out here taking antidepressants, thinking they really depressed, but your vitamins may be low, man. And that goes for, you could be depressed because you lacking potassium. You could be depressed because you lacking vitamin D. You could be depressed because you lacking magnesium. You can be depressed because you lacking B12. Just make sure before you accept taking medication for a period of time, make sure you do your due diligence and have your doctor test your vitamins, because once I got the vitamin D in my body, I felt completely normal again. So that's all I wanted to come and share with you guys today, man. I know it's a lot of people out here going through the same things, but yeah, man, health is wealth, and you only got one life to live, so make sure you live it to the fullest, man. But this your boy Akeem coming back at you with another video. I'm out. Peace.
Well, if that doesn't teach you the importance of the subject of vitamin D and hormone D and the impact it has on your system and how you could be looking into improving your intake and how your body functions by making sure you get enough and from the correct sources. If that doesn't highlight the importance of that matter, I don't know what will. I mean, he told us that it took him how long to get it sorted out, and he had to go through this doctor, that doctor sort of thing, and they really, I don't know if they're like hiding the information or they're told not, to check on things in a certain order, which takes them even longer to get to come to the realization that there's a vitamin D and thus hormone D problem or what. I don't know what the reason is, but you need to be, I think, more conscientious about your health these days, because the healthcare system, it doesn't seem as though it's designed to get to the root cause anytime soon, which you need it to. Because until you understand the root of the problem, you can't find the solution. You're just going to be constantly medicating to cover this symptom, this side effect, and all the rest of it. So, yeah, a doctor and then a regular Joe Blogs giving us their perspective on vitamin D and its importance in their life. We've got half an hour left, and I've got a video. This is an MD, and she says, why you still feel terrible with, in inverted commas, normal vitamin D levels. 7 doctors missed this. So this might find the answer to what I was just talking about there, like what's going on with the doctors, and certainly what those 2 videos that we've just watched have asked, like what's going on with the doctors. So yeah, I think we'll watch this video.
Have you ever had all the symptoms of vitamin D deficiency? Fatigue, brain fog, muscle weakness, depression, but your blood tests came back normal? Or perhaps you're taking supplements, getting plenty of sun, and doing everything right, but still feeling awful. I'm Dr. Hilary Lynn, and after treating thousands of patients from Stanford to my private practice in longevity medicine, I've discovered something that's transformed how I think about vitamin D. The way we test for and treat vitamin D deficiency is fundamentally flawed. Let me share a story about a patient I'll call Rachel. Rachel came to my office after a 2-year journey that maybe sounds like yours. She had seen 7 different doctors for crushing fatigue and muscle weakness, so severe she actually had trouble climbing all the stairs to her home. Every doctor ran the same standard vitamin D test and told her that she had normal levels at 31 nanograms per milliliter. Every doctor said there was nothing wrong. Here's something that fascinated me about Rachel's case. All of her other labs were fine, and her symptoms were screaming classic vitamin D deficiency, and she seemed to be doing a lot of the right things, taking supplements, getting sun, and eating well. And it wasn't until we dug deeper that we discovered why these interventions didn't seem to be working. 3 months after implementing what I'm about to share with you, Rachel was back to living a normal life. And it wasn't just about taking more vitamin D supplements. Here's one crucial insight to start with. That standard vitamin D test your doctor runs, it's like trying to judge how well your car runs by measuring how much fuel is in the entire system, including what's trapped in the fuel lines and can't reach the engine. You see, when we measure total vitamin D, we're looking at everything your body has stored away, but over 99% of that vitamin D is bound to proteins in your blood and isn't available immediately for your cells to use. That's just the beginning of what we're getting wrong about vitamin D in medicine. What I'm about to share will challenge everything you think you know about this crucial hormone. And yes, it's a hormone, not just a vitamin. This includes why even people living in sunny places are often functionally deficient, the missing ingredient that makes most vitamin D supplements ineffective, and how the timing of your vitamin D could matter more than a dose, and the surprising connection between vitamin D and your other hormones that explains why normal levels aren't enough. In today's episode, I'll break down the 5 different forms of vitamin D in your body and why sometimes your doctor might be measuring the wrong one, missing ingredients for your vitamin D metabolism, and 3 simple steps you can take today to optimize your vitamin D status, even if your levels are so-called normal. Let's start by looking at what your doctor might be missing when they're interpreting your vitamin D test results, because what I discovered about these numbers changed everything about how I practice medicine. Let me share something that shocked me during my research. When your doctor orders a vitamin D test, they're only looking at one of 5 different forms of vitamin D in your body. And here's the kicker. It might not even be the most important one. So let's talk about these 5 forms. First, we have vitamin D3 or cholecalciferol. This is what your skin makes from sunlight, and it's what's in most supplements, but it's basically inactive. Your body needs to transform it into an active form. We also have vitamin D2, which is ergocalciferol. This is the plant-based form found in some fortified foods and prescription supplements. We don't see this as much anymore because we've figured out that this isn't the more effective version of a supplement to take. And some people don't convert this form efficiently, which is why supplements don't include D2 very much anymore. Then we have 25-hydroxyvitamin D. This is what almost every doctor tests for. This is called your storage form of vitamin D. And then we have 1,25-dihydroxyvitamin D. This is the active form, what your cells actually use. Surprisingly, most doctors never test for this. And then I'll just mention 24,25-dihydroxyvitamin D. This is a breakdown product, which can tell us how quickly your body is using up its vitamin D. Now, most doctors will tell you that a level between 30 to 100 nanograms per milliliters is normal. But after treating thousands of patients, I've discovered something fascinating. This range isn't telling us the whole story, and it might not even be right for you. First, let's talk about what optimal really means. While 30 nanograms per milliliters might prevent a drastic condition like rickets, I've found that many of my patients dealing with fatigue and immune issues don't actually start feeling better until they reach at least 50 nanograms per milliliters. Both in my clinical experience and supported by current research, the sweet spot is typically between 50 to 80 nanograms per milliliters. But this is where it gets interesting. Some patients need even higher levels, while other people feel great at 45 or even lower nanograms per milliliter. There's a bigger problem with how we test vitamin D, and it's something I wished every doctor understood. So think about vitamin D like money that needs to reach different branches of your bank, which are your cells or your organs that need the vitamin D to function well. The standard test just counts the total amount of money in the system. But here's the critical part. Almost all of this money is being held by security guards, known as vitamin D binding proteins, whose job it is to protect and transport the vitamin D. These security guards are essential. They keep your vitamin D safe and carry it through your bloodstream, but sometimes they hold onto it too tightly. So imagine having plenty of money in your account, but the security guards are so strict that you could only withdraw a tiny amount at a time. That's exactly what can happen in your body. So you might have a normal vitamin D level of 35, but if your binding proteins are holding on too tightly, your cells are still standing there unable to access what they need. And it gets even more complex. Before any of this vitamin D becomes usable, your body needs to process it through your liver and kidneys, like converting foreign currency into local money your cells can actually use. The standard test doesn't tell us anything about how well your body is managing these conversions. And what's even more concerning is how widely different labs interpret these numbers. I've actually seen the same number get called deficient versus optimal. So one lab might say that you're deficient at 29, while another would call that same level sufficient. So in Rachel's case, she had a quote unquote normal level of 31, but still had all the classic symptoms of deficiency. We dug a lot deeper and we discovered that her hormone levels were affecting her vitamin D metabolism. And likely her binding proteins were holding on to her vitamin D so tightly that her cells couldn't access it. So this is why for people who are struggling with persistent symptoms despite normal levels, we need to look beyond that basic 25-hydroxy vitamin D test. A complete assessment might include that standard 25-hydroxy test, that total amount of vitamin D, also your vitamin D binding protein levels, or how many security guards you have, free vitamin D calculation, which is how much is available to your cells, and the 125 dihydroxy vitamin D levels, or how much active form you're making, as well as key cofactors, which I'll discuss, which will affect how your body processes vitamin D. But let me be clear, most people don't need such an extensive workup. If your levels are really good, over 50, for example, and you're feeling well, the standard test might be all you need. However, for those who are dealing with autoimmune conditions, chronic fatigue, or haven't responded to standard supplementation, this deeper investigation could be revealing and really helpful. So this brings me to something fascinating about how your body processes vitamin D. A discovery that explains why some people with optimal levels of vitamin D still feel terrible, while others with supposedly low levels feel completely fine. Here's something that might surprise you. Vitamin D isn't just a vitamin. It's actually a hormone itself. And what I'm about to share about its role in your body's hormone network will transform how you think about your unexplained symptoms, from brain fog to fatigue to mood changes. Let's start with what I consider to be the most fascinating discovery in recent vitamin D research: its profound impact on your brain and stress response. When you're chronically stressed, your elevated cortisol, or stress hormone levels, trigger an enzyme that breaks down active vitamin D faster than usual. But here's the interesting part. Vitamin D actually fights back against the effects of chronic stress in ways that we never knew about till recently. So the science here is extraordinary. Studies have shown that vitamin D acts as a powerful protector for your brain, particularly in regions crucial for mood, memory, and stress resilience. It's like having a skilled maintenance team that not only repairs stress damage, but actually fortifies your brain against future attacks. It does this by reducing inflammation, boosting your natural antioxidant defenses, and most incredibly, helping produce special compounds called neurotropic factors that act like premium fertilizer for your brain cells. Even more fascinating, vitamin D helps normalize your body's stress response system. This is the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. When this system gets stuck in overdrive, which happens all too often in our modern world, vitamin D helps bring it back into balance. I've seen this play out in countless times in my clinic. Patients who thought that they were just stressed discover that optimizing their vitamin D levels transforms their resilience and their mental clarity. Now let's talk about another crucial hormone relationship that's often overlooked. There's this intricate dance between vitamin D and your thyroid. This connection is so profound that it's really revolutionizing how we think about both thyroid disorder and unexplained fatigue. A groundbreaking Mendelian randomization study recently suggested that optimizing your vitamin D levels might actually help protect your thyroid function. Think of vitamin D as a conductor, helping your thyroid hormones better communicate with every cell in your body. But what's really interesting is that even in people with normal thyroid numbers, low vitamin D can impair how well your cells respond to thyroid hormones. It's like having a perfectly good mobile phone, but a weak signal. That message just isn't getting through clearly. So this explains why some people with normal thyroid tests still have all the symptoms of a sluggish thyroid. Then we have this third key hormone connection, and one that explains so many mysterious symptoms between vitamin D and your sex hormones. The science here has revealed something remarkable. Vitamin D receptors and metabolizing enzymes are present throughout your reproductive tissues, creating this two-way conversation that affects everything from energy to mood to metabolic health. In men, this connection shows up clearly in testosterone levels. Research has shown that vitamin D deficiency correlates with lower testosterone production, and supplementation can help boost levels naturally. For women, the relationship is even more complex. Vitamin D plays a crucial role in estrogen biosynthesis, affecting how your body produces and responds to estrogen throughout your cycle. This becomes particularly critical during hormonal transitions like menopause. Studies have shown that postmenopausal women are at significantly higher risk of vitamin D deficiency, even with adequate sun exposure. And it's not just about absorption, it's about how your body's entire endocrine system adapts to these hormonal shifts. So this explains why so many women, like Rachel actually in my original case, find their vitamin D needs to change dramatically during this transition. So what does this intricate hormone web mean for you? It means that treating vitamin D deficiency isn't just about popping supplements or getting more sun. It's about understanding and working with your body's entire hormonal ecosystem. So let's revisit the 3 game-changing insights that came from all of this research. First, remember, your stress response and vitamin D levels are locked in this bidirectional relationship that can either support or undermine your brain health and resilience. So by optimizing both, you can create this upward spiral of better stress tolerance and clearer thinking. Second, we have the vitamin D thyroid connection, meaning that optimizing your vitamin D status could be that missing link in resolving unexplained fatigue and metabolic issues, even if your thyroid numbers look normal. And third, understanding how vitamin D interacts with your sex hormones is crucial for navigating hormonal transitions and optimizing your energy, mood, and overall vitality at every stage of life. But here's the most exciting thing. Once you start understanding these connections, you can start working with your body's natural hormonal rhythms instead of against them. Now, I'm going to talk about a revolutionary discovery about timing. How when you get your vitamin D might be just as important as how much you're getting. When I tell people that the time of the day they take their vitamin D might matter more than the dose, I often get a lot of surprise. It's almost like your supplements have jet lag. So this insight emerged from fascinating recent research, and it's transformed the way I approach vitamin D optimization for myself and my patients. And once you understand the science behind it, you'll never look at your morning routine the same way. So here's what we've discovered. Your body's response to vitamin D isn't static. It's actually following a precise daily rhythm that's almost like an orchestrated dance between your hormones, genes, and metabolism. And just like showing up to a dance class at a wrong time might leave you doing a waltz during hip hop hour, taking vitamin D at the wrong time might mean that you're not getting its full benefits. The science here is absolutely fascinating. So studies have shown that your body processes vitamin D differently depending on when you take it. In fact, researchers have found that giving vitamin D at certain times of the day results in better bone density improvements and fewer side effects like calcium issues compared to the exact same dose given at other times. It's like your body has specific office hours when it's best equipped to process and use vitamin D. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Your active vitamin D levels follow a daily rhythm, peaking during the day and reaching their lowest point in that early dawn morning. When researchers discovered this pattern, it completely changed how we think about vitamin D supplementation. Imagine trying to deposit a check when the bank is closed. That's essentially what we're doing when we ignore these natural rhythms. I sometimes notice this pattern with folks who are night shift workers. A lot of night shift workers will take the same supplements as everybody else, people who work a regular day shift. But night shift workers consistently struggle more with symptoms such as from vitamin D deficiency. And it's not just about a lack of sun exposure. The entire vitamin D processing system goes out of sync. To dive a bit more into the science, vitamin D helps synchronize important genes like BMAL1 and PER2. These are your body's internal timekeeper genes. So when these genes are properly synchronized, they help regulate everything from your metabolism to your energy levels throughout the day. It's like vitamin D isn't just a regular nutrient. It's one of your body's primary timekeeping signals. So just to repeat it, because that was a lot of info, you can access vitamin D supplements better if you take it at certain types of the day, typically in the morning, or at night if you are a night shift worker. But also having sufficient amounts of vitamin D helps you keep better time with your circadian rhythm. Now let's talk about another crucial aspect that many doctors and people miss: the seasonal aspect of vitamin D timing. You see, your body's vitamin D machinery doesn't just follow a daily rhythm, it follows an annual one too. This isn't just about less sun exposure in the winter. Your body actually processes vitamin D differently depending on the season. So I've found that even patients getting the same amount of sun exposure through different means show distinct seasonal patterns in how their bodies process vitamin D. It's like your body has a built-in calendar that's as important as a daily clock. So for example, let's take one particular case, Claire. This was a software engineer who I was working with who worked from home a lot. And so she was taking vitamin D as a supplement, 5,000 IUs, which is the typical max dose that I recommend for many people. However, the problem was she was getting her good enough sun exposure by walking her dog in the late afternoon. And despite her labs showing decent vitamin D levels, she was still struggling with winter fatigue. So we tried a few different things, including shifting her schedule to include morning light exposure and adjusting her supplement timing seasonally. Her energy transformed within a month. Her vitamin D levels actually didn't change on her blood test, but her body's ability to use that vitamin D improved dramatically. So why is this timing effect so powerful? When you give your body the right signal at the right time, you're not just providing raw materials, you're speaking your body's native language. It's like an orchestra. Properly timed vitamin D exposure is like a conductor raising their baton at the start of the performance. But that orchestra also needs to play different music for different seasons, and the conductor needs to adapt accordingly. So what does this mean practically for you? One, daily timing matters. Morning light exposure isn't just about getting vitamin D, it's about setting your body's master clock. For supplements, research suggests taking them with your largest meal of the day to optimize absorption, but also early in the day because that's when the timing works with your circadian rhythm. For people taking a lot of different medications, you might want to time your vitamin D away from them for proper absorption. There can be some competition, although for a lot of people, this extra factor might not matter so much. If you want to be really optimal, though, this can be an extra optimal step to take. And second, seasonal adaptation is key. So your vitamin D needs typically increase by 50% or more during winter months. Morning light exposure becomes even more crucial during shorter days, and the timing of your supplements might need to shift with the seasons. And if you're somebody with a specific schedule, for example, if you work in the office and you don't get any morning sun access, use your lunch break for some outdoor exposure and consider a light therapy lamp for morning signal. I actually use a little light bulb to help me get up in the morning because I don't get a lot of sun in the northern hemisphere. And unfortunately, I don't really get outside early in the morning like I wish I could. I also recommend, like we mentioned before, timing your supplements with your first substantial meal, particularly for supplements like vitamin D, which are absorbed better with food. And if you're a night shift worker, you might want to create a modified morning routine when you wake. So use strategic light exposure to help reset your rhythm and adjust your supplement timing, including your vitamin D, to your active hours. And for those seasonal transitions, you want to start adapting your routine 2 to 3 weeks before the season changes if you want to go for that optimal shift. And gradually shifting your timing with the changing sunrise will help your body adopt better. You may also need to adjust your doses up and down depending on seasonal patterns. Remember, in the winter months, you tend to need more supplementation of vitamin D. But what if you're doing everything right with timing and still not feeling optimal? This is where understanding the crucial role of certain cofactors becomes vital. So most of us have probably heard of the importance of vitamin K2 in adjunct with vitamin D supplementation. K2 acts like your body's traffic director and ensures that the calcium you absorb thanks to vitamin D actually goes where it's supposed to, into your bones and teeth and not your arteries and soft tissues. And yes, K2 is absolutely crucial for most of us. Without it, increasing your vitamin D could theoretically do a bit more harm than good, like hiring more delivery trucks without giving the proper GPS systems. They might end up dropping off their packages at all the wrong addresses. As a small extreme example, I actually once had a patient who was really overdoing her vitamin D supplementation, and she was also taking some calcium. So it is a kind of special case, but she ended up in the cardiac ICU because she had so much calcium in her blood levels that it was leading to heart block, which, like it sounds, is a life-threatening heart condition. Thankfully, she ended up okay, but we had to do some education about her supplementation. But what's fascinating to me is that while most people know about K2, most of us are missing an even more fundamental piece of the puzzle, something so essential that without it, your body can't properly use vitamin D at all. I'm talking about magnesium. And what I'm about to share about this mineral will transform how you think about vitamin D optimization. What shocked me as I was doing research about vitamin D is that every single enzyme involved in vitamin D metabolism is magnesium dependent. This isn't just a helpful nutrient, it's absolutely essential for your body to do anything with the vitamin D you're taking. So think about that for a moment. You could be doing everything else right, taking vitamin D with K2, getting sun exposure at the right times, optimizing your hormone levels. But if you're deficient in magnesium, it's like having a perfectly good car with no oil in the engine. It simply can't function properly. And here's the problem that I see in my practice almost every day. The standard way we test for magnesium is basically useless. So when your doctor runs a standard magnesium test, they're only looking at the magnesium in your serum, free for the lab test to detect. Here's the catch. Less than 1% of your body's magnesium is detected by such tests. The rest is hidden inside your cells, where all the important work happens. So you might be taking extra large doses of vitamin D, even up to 10,000 IUs, which I don't typically recommend for most people. And you might not see levels budging for your vitamin D levels, or your symptoms might not be going away. If you're one of these people, you might want to double check your red blood cell magnesium levels. RBC magnesium level is your storage magnesium level, and that might be helpful in detecting whether you're deficient in magnesium. By making sure that you're not deficient in magnesium, you might actually require a much lower dose of vitamin D supplementation. Recent research has shown that magnesium doesn't just help activate vitamin D, it also helps regulate how much gets activated. So it's like having a skilled financial advisor who knows exactly when to invest your money and when to save it. Without adequate magnesium, your body might actually convert too much vitamin D into its active form too quickly, and that can also cause problems. I've observed this several times in my own practice. Patients with low magnesium often have signs of vitamin D deficiency, even if their blood levels of vitamin D are normal, while others develop symptoms of vitamin D excess on relatively normal doses. Their bodies have lost the ability to properly regulate vitamin D activation. So as you can imagine, magnesium is involved in all of those different pathways that vitamin D is involved with. First, we've got the hormonal effects. Magnesium helps regulate the enzymes that activate and deactivate vitamin D, and it's crucial for vitamin D receptor function, and it helps maintain the delicate balance of calcium regulation. And as you might imagine, magnesium is also important for the timing impacts. Magnesium is essential for the proper circadian rhythm function, and it helps regulate the enzymes that control daily vitamin D cycling. Low magnesium levels can disrupt your body's natural timing systems. And then we've got cellular response effects. Without adequate magnesium, your cells can't properly respond to vitamin D signals. So this explains why some people need extremely high doses to see any benefit. Correcting magnesium often allows for lower, safer vitamin D doses. So I recommend checking magnesium before you escalate your vitamin D doses higher and higher. If you're not able to get proper testing done, here are some key signs that your magnesium status might be affecting your vitamin D function. One is perhaps your vitamin D levels aren't increasing despite supplementation, or you might be getting side effects of vitamin D excess. It's disrupting your sleep, or your mood actually paradoxically gets worse. Or you might get some cramps like muscle tension, particularly in your legs, which can happen with things like magnesium deficiency. Or perhaps you've got really poor sleep quality despite good sleep habits, or you're sensitive to stress and easily overwhelmed. And now here's something about magnesium supplementation. Not all magnesium supplements are the same. Different forms of magnesium have dramatically different effects and absorption rates. And timing your magnesium intake is almost as important as the form you choose, as always. Let's translate everything we've learned into a practical system you can start using today. So remember the case with Rachel. She was the patient who came in after seeing 7 different doctors over a couple of years and had all those symptoms of fatigue despite having normal vitamin D levels. She was taking 2,000 IUs of vitamin D daily and getting plenty of sun with her weekend hikes, following a healthy diet, taking calcium for her bones. But looking through the lens of what you've learned today, you can probably spot the issues. First of all, she was missing the crucial morning timing window before her supplements and her sunlight. And then she also wasn't addressing her magnesium status, which turned out to be low. She was postmenopausal, which added that hormonal complexity to it. Also, she was getting uneven amounts of sun exposure. So lots of sun on the weekends, but almost none at all during the weekday. And then she also lacked that K2 vitamin supplement, which would properly direct the calcium. And she was dealing with some unrecognized thyroid antibodies that were affecting her vitamin D metabolism as well. So we implemented a protocol which got Rachel back to her own self. She had proper energy, she was climbing her stairs easily, and she felt like she had her life back. And her vitamin D levels rose to 52 nanograms per milliliter. It wasn't super dramatic, but it was in the optimal zone. And the way she was taking her vitamin D really transformed her life. So here's a step-by-step action plan to achieve similar results. Step 1. Get the right testing. Work with a doctor to establish your baseline. Make sure that you at least get standard testing. But if you're somebody who has struggled with vitamin D and mysterious fatigue effects, you might want to go beyond the standard. So 25 hydroxy vitamin D is the standard test, but you may also need a vitamin D binding protein, a complete thyroid panel, including TPO antibodies, thyroid antibodies, essentially, and RBC magnesium levels, not just the serum levels, which remember, that's not enough to detect your body supply, and serum calcium. There are direct to consumer options if your doctor won't order these. A lot of times it's not because your doctor doesn't want to give you what you need, it's because they're not familiar with these types of tests. And unfortunately, doctors don't have a lot of time in the middle of the day to figure out these details. Step 2 is to time your light exposure. Remember all of our timing discussion. Here's your daily light exposure protocol. So in the morning, within 2 hours of waking, you want to get 10 to 15 minutes of direct sunlight, or at least use one of those sun lamps that are safe for your eyes. In the midday, around 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for most people, get more sun exposure, 5 to 10 minutes. You want to avoid excessive sun exposure. If you happen to live in one of those places that has tons of sun in the evening, you might want to avoid that so that your body can settle down. And if you can't get the natural sunlight, you want to use a 10,000 lux light therapy lamp for 20 to 30 minutes in the morning. And step 3, you'll want to optimize your supplement stack. Here is a suggested supplement timing protocol. And again, as with all things, you want to work with your health professional on this. In the morning with breakfast, preferably to help with the absorption, you'll want to take vitamin D3, and your dose is going to be based on your testing results. But typically it's between 2,000 to 5,000 IUs for most people. Then you want to make sure that you get vitamin K2, which is best in the MK7 form, 100 to 200 micrograms. So there's some debate about whether to take the K2 in the morning with the D3 because they do compete a little bit with each other, but it's a small enough dose that for most people, I think the convenience of taking it together is just fine. If you really want, you can move the K2 to lunch. So speaking of which, with lunch, you want to make sure that you're getting your other medications, your magnesium, for example, as well. In the middle of the day, magnesium citrate typically works for most people. You can take magnesium malate too, which can be helpful for your muscles. I have another episode all about the different forms of magnesium. And in the evening, you might want to take additional magnesium. If you struggle with sleep, magnesium bisglycinate or glycinate could be helpful. So with magnesium, 150 to 200 milligrams is the usual dose, give or take. Your body will regulate it pretty well. And if you're taking really high vitamin D doses and you're particularly worried about your bones, you may want to take additional K2 at this point. Most people won't need this extra K2, however. And step 4, support your hormones. This is a crucial but often missed step. You'll want to support your hormone balance by following the timing protocol above, getting adequate protein with breakfast to help stabilize your cortisol, taking breaks from screens every 90 minutes to help normalize your cortisol patterns. Don't do what I'm forced to do sometimes, which is back-to-back-to-back meetings for the entire day, and use stress management techniques during your peak cortisol hours. That's usually actually in the early morning, which for a lot of people, it's helpful because you want to be able to get up in the morning, get going. But for some people, it could be overly anxious. And if that's you, you'll want to practice meditation, breathing techniques to help manage that extra stress. And then, of course, step 5, monitor and adjust. Here's where most protocols fail. They don't adapt. There's not a one-size-fits-all protocol for everyone, and not even for the same person, as we discussed, for every part of the year. Create a simple tracking system. Keep a symptom diary, especially as you're adjusting doses, and retest your levels every 2 to 3 months initially. And track your energy levels throughout the day, and note any changes in your sleep quality, monitor your muscle tension, your mood. These are all things that are typically linked to vitamin D levels and metabolism.
Now that was a lot in one video. She just didn't stop with her information, which, is brilliant. Again, I'll put that in, well, it's already in the description of this video, and I've added it to the sources playlist. Yeah, that's it. We've come to the end with just over a minute to go until I end stream. So thanks for being here. I hope it's useful to you. Thanks for being an explorer with me. I'll just play a little music and then end. So good night and God bless to everyone, including Pablo in the chat, who says, just advertise the rocket fuel, LTG. Okay, no problem. So that my rocket fuel is black coffee with MCT oil, cinnamon powder, and cacao. 2 of them in the morning, and booyah.
board clear, unpacking the fresh pack of pens, never willing to accept sincere. She's loved in many channels, every gay chant on nights and black blue lights. Heaven help them when she recites. Mysterious life, girl got skills. She moves in space with minimum waste and maximum joy. Makeshift desk and a cat that bites. When you see her coming, take your pills. No place for snowflakes or sensitive hearts. When sentiment is left to chance, she'll send you back to your start. We all know it, she's a smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Toast to toast, sometimes switches to crumpet, bends them to jail. Across social media, buy memberships for bail. Verse by verse, exploring the text. She reads and recites, not knowing the tongue, learning every step of the way. Melts all your memories and feeds you facts. Her zeal is like fire, but her heart is of gold. We all know it, she's a smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Toast to toast, sometimes switch to crumpet, bans them to jail. Across social media, buy memberships for bail. Smooth moderator. 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 Ooh, moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator.